So you said that you work with like middle school students and high school students. I was just kind of curious, like in from what you know right now, what is like the most common thing or the biggest challenge that is stopping high school students and middle school students from reaching their full potential? Like what's that thing that's stopping them from like reaching those new levels?
Right. Well, I had an opportunity, man. It blew my mind, but I understood it because you only believe in what you can see a lot of times. And so a lot of students that when you ask them what their dreams are, they don't have a dream. They don't have a vision for the future. They don't see anything for themselves outside of what they see everybody in their neighborhood doing. And so when I was at this school and the young student said, I don't even think I'll make it past 18, that
Whoa,
that hit me.
that's weird. Yeah,
Oh, man.
that's dang.
Yeah, it hit me, that hurt, and, it's a challenging time, and I get it, a lot of things going on at home, and if they're not nurturing the mind, if they're not teaching you to focus on improving yourself, that's huge. When I first heard about what was called self-help at the time, but personal development, it seemed so weird because you're groomed and it's not intentional all the time, but you're taught to believe the negative things about yourself faster than you are the positive things. And so when you look at somebody trying to come out of that bucket, you talk about the crabs in the bucket. When you're trying to come out of that bucket of negativity, people are pulling you back. Either they're pulling you down by grabbing your leg and holding you, but mentally that's what they're doing. And they're telling you those things that you don't have what it takes. Nobody will ever trust you enough to do that. Look at who you are, where you came from. Only the rich get richer. All these different things, man. You're not educated enough. All of these things. They don't say that, hey, you have the ability to overcome these things, but if you go out and educate yourself, if you work on yourself, if you have a dream and you write these things down every day, if you focus on a better future for yourself, but if you do it, importantly, if you're doing it not just for you, but for other people. And I think that's the key, getting it started and working on ourselves and focusing on dreams to accomplish for ourselves is huge. But it's when you start doing an overall what I call movement, when you're working on helping other people, that's when you realize that life is bigger than me, and that's when things change. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just getting students to dream. When they don't believe in it, they're taught to believe that it's a fantasy world. It'll never happen for you. It carries on into your adulthood, and eventually you start believing that as well. So it's get them to dream. That's the big thing. Get them to dream and start putting those steps forward to get that action, man. Action is wow. If you look at all the books you have in your library, if you held them all, that's great. But it's not until you start putting the tips, the techniques, the tools to action that you'll
Yeah.
be able to accomplish those things. So a
Like
lot of
most people just like read a bunch of books, but it takes someone who's actually dedicated, I guess, determined to make a change to
yeah,
what's in those books. I remember I personally read a lot. I read like a book a week pretty much. And
awesome.
for the first like couple of months of me doing that, I'd read like these really informational books. I'd read like I think I read something like 12 books at that time, and they were all so helpful and great. But I don't know. I think it was like something within me thinking that the only people who read these books are people who are already successful. That I shouldn't even be reading these. Like, I have no business doing this. I'm not gonna become successful because of it. But like, I don't know about for you, but for me, what really made me want to, I guess, be better in a way was just experiencing such a detrimental loss
Mhm.
that it felt like, okay, the only thing I can do and should do is go up from here. I'm not sure if you have the same thing, but like did you ever have a time where you just experienced like a massive failure? And like, how'd you, I guess, bounce back from dealing with that?
Which time? Which time? I think the big shocker for me, the big shocker, man. I started playing sports at 6 years old. Football, baseball, I played basketball, wrestled. I started playing at 6 years old. And I knew after my freshman year of high school that baseball was going to be it for me. And so my focus was to become a Major League Baseball player. And when I got that tryout and they told me no, it was devastating. And when I didn't get a second shot, oh, it hurt me to no end. And so at that point, I was stuck in that mental quicksand. That's where it started for me. I said, well, what do I do next? Well, ended up, I got married. I got my son. Then 15 months later, my daughter. And then 15 months later, my other daughter. And I'm 24 years old and I got 3 kids and a family. I'm trying to
Jeez.
take care of everybody. And so at 30, that's when it's like, man, what am I doing here? So that was huge. I had to overcome that because I was hurt. I couldn't even watch baseball. It was so hurt for me. I didn't know what to do with myself because I didn't think I had anything up here to give. And so that was one, a devastating blow, something you don't control everything. And we always want to control things. But a really tough, devastating blow for me was after working so hard to get into that 6-figure income, getting laid off. And then I thought I was going to get back to work with like in a month. But here I went on a roller coaster ride of 352 days. And through that, man, I realized a lot of things that I had to stop trying to control everything. I had to realize that I had to do what I needed to do, which was put the work in on myself. And not only that, I had to pick my wife up. I had to pick my family up. I had to do everything I could do to make things happen. And it was something that I learned about myself was that I have what it takes. And that's what everybody needs to learn. I now say that adversity sets the stage from which great feats have been accomplished. And so when you think about being on stage, you think about the cameras, and you think about the lights rolling and people being on stage, because that's when you need to go to work. There are going to be people who are watching you who saying he's not going to bounce back from that. There are going to be people who are saying he might be able to. And there are going to be people who are saying he can do it. But it doesn't matter what any of them think. It all depends on what you think. And that's the key. Those lights are on and you're struggling down there and you're at your lowest point and they were getting ready to take our house. The lights are going off. The water's being off. All of that stuff. You got to bounce back. That's the only thing you can do. You can focus on what you can do, which was work on myself, continue to bust my butt, and that's it. That's the only thing you can do. Sooner or later, as the scripture says, this too shall pass. Right? And so you got to know when you're down on your luck, now it's time to get up and put your work in because this too shall pass. And I'm a big believer of that now. My wife could not believe the day we got the foreclosure letter that I balled it up and threw it in the trash and told her it's not going to happen. And it didn't. It didn't. It didn't.
Takes
It was
guts.
tough. But I told her it's not going to happen and we still got that house. So